In today's episode, we're going to recap all of Monday's action, including an injury to Morant and the news on Spencer Dinwiddie's ACL. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We're going to recap all of Monday's action, going to preview Tuesday's games as well. I'm going to try something a little bit different today as well after I do the recaps for these games. Stay tuned, we'll see how that one goes. Talk about some of the injuries that we did hear about as well in these games. So let's get into talking about them straight away. The first game, Pistons and the Hawks. The Hawks win at 128-120. Detroit was without Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose and Jahlil Okafor, so we had a bit of a hybrid starting lineup. Killian Hayes, Josh Jackson, Saddiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, and Mason Plumlee. They moved Delon Wright to the bench because they didn't have a backup point guard, so he sort of handled those roles, but some big performances here. Josh Jackson, 27 points on a 32 usage with 58% shooting. He had a steal, a block, he hit 3 threes. This was great. He will not do this every game. This makes him look like a absolute guarantee 12-team league ad. I'm not so sure on that. I'd add him in 14-teamers, but this was without Rose and it was without Griffin. I'm not sure he's going to do this. Actually, I'm confident he's not going to do this every game because he's not going to get that usage or that level of shooting. But Mason Plumlee needs to be added everywhere. 9, 12, and 6, 3 steals, 100% shooting. Didn't even miss a free throw. Great from him. Well, Jeremy Grant, big usage, decent efficiency, 27 and 6. I still don't believe in him long term, and maybe he's a bit of a sell high, but after how things started out rough and people wanted to drop him, this is why you don't drop him. Some big numbers coming through. Delon had 18, 5, and 4 with 2 blocks, really rounding into form the last couple of games. He's probably a guy you have on the waiver wire. While it was better from Killian Hayes, it wasn't great, but 10 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 threes, and 29 minutes. Hopefully he can continue to get these minutes most games. I worry how that works when Rose is back. But I think over the last couple of months of the season, he's going to be that top 100 player. Saddiq Bey started 10 and 7 with 2 threes. It looks to me he is ahead of Sekou Doumbouya. Now, Doumbouya was allegedly injured before the game, and then he was the 10th man into the rotation. I don't know how much to buy that, but Bey was really interesting in this game for his ability to just be out there and be a solid spacing threat. He's not going to be a fantasy asset at all this year, and I don't think he's ever going to be able to be a top-end guy. But good to see him in that rotation. Isaiah Stewart, also super impactful in terms of rebounding, 5 offensive boards. He will take over that backup center spot from Jahlil Okafor really soon. I don't know if Okafor is going to play in the next couple of games, but Stewart is going to take that job, and it's not going to take all that long for him to get it. For the Hawks, they did welcome back Clint Capella, but the Italian cock Danilo Gallinari remained out.
Hands off my cock!
Young had 29 points with 6 assists. Bogdan Bogdanovic off the bench behind Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, but played well. 17, 5, and 5 with 5 threes. He looked really comfortable out there. While John Collins, Now, Collins' line, it looks good in the end. 26 minutes, 15 points. It doesn't look good. It looks okay. Let's rephrase that. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 1 3, 1 block, all 6 of 6 from the line. That's great. But they pulled him after 5 minutes and he had no fouls. And then he came back in and picked up a lot of fouls quickly. He cannot stay out of foul trouble. They are not prioritizing him. You know that I was so down on Collins this year that he was to me like a player in the 40 to 50 range. So far, he's been somehow worse than that. This was his first game playing alongside Clint Capella. He's not going to be that rebound guy, which is what I talked about. He's not being featured offensively because Gallinari is going to be there. Bogdanovic is going to be there. Reddish and Hunter are expanding their games. It's just a rough look for Collins at this point. Reddish started. He had 11 and 7 with 3 steals. That's really solid, but more of a 14-teamer. While DeAndre Hunter with Capella there, he couldn't get that same rebound rate. 11 and 6 with 3 threes. Not a surprise. Missed both his free throws. He's probably more of a 14-teamer than a must-roster 12-team league guy. Rondo also, I've got to give him props. He was unbelievable in this game. 8 assists, 12 points. It's against the Pistons, but he didn't miss shots. He was unbelievable with his shooting. And those assists are super valuable. They can be streamable off your waiver wire, really, without too much hesitation. You also shouldn't hesitate to use your sporting knowledge to win some money. And by doing that, at Bet Online. NFL playoffs, college football bowl season, the start of the NBA season. We have got everything covered for you. And there's only one place that has you fully covered. And there's only one place that we trust. And that is betonline.ag. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use that promo code LOCKEDON and they'll give you a 50% welcome bonus. You know the NBA. You're watching this podcast. You know what's going on. So you want to put that talent, that knowledge, that expertise to the test. BetOnline.ag is the place where you should go and do it. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. Get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And betting on the NBA doesn't have to be a guessing game if you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks and quick hitting advice to make the smartest possible wagers. Subscribe to the Locked On Bets podcast brought to you by betonline.ag wherever you get podcasts. Alrighty, then let's move on to the next game. We are talking about here the Brooklyn Nets going down to the Grizzlies in overtime, 116-111. We'll talk about the Nets in a sec. Let's start with Memphis because Ja Morant sprained his ankle, had to be wheeled off. The x-rays were negative, so no fractures at this point. He's going to have an MRI. He's going to miss time. Now, whether that's a week, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, we don't know. Tyus Jones started the second half and played 35 minutes. Remember, there was no DeAnthony Melton in this game, but they do view Melton more as a combo shooting guard rather than a pure point guard. Jones is not a high usage player. He will get you assists and steals. He had 4 assists and 2 steals here with just 9 points, but that can be useful enough. Dylan Brooks is just going to get every usage possible. 24, 7 and 4, 3 steals and 2 threes. And I shit on Brooks a lot, but that's a really good game from him. And Kyle Anderson, man, I told you in that waiver wire show, he's got to be added. He's got to be added. 28 points, 37 minutes, 4 triples, 7 rebounds, 53%. Now, when Winslow and Jaren Jackson come back, it might be hard for him to find this level of role and this level of usage, but he upped it. 27 usage, 28 points, just a massive, massive game. While Valanciunas was great as well. 39 minutes, 14 and 14 with 3 blocks. It was much better from Brandon Clark, who's really struggled to begin this season. 29 minutes, 16 and 7, 55%, and it would have been much better if he wasn't 3 of 7 from the line. He is more of that, one category guy, that field goal percentage player, but he added some scoring here. The rebounds were nice. He's still a 12-team league guy. He's not a drop at this point. I think he intends he's not that must-roster player. It wasn't a great start to the year, but yeah, pretty good stuff here. Well, I was impressed with Desmond Bane. He should be getting the minutes over Grayson Allen. 6 points in 24, while Allen played 24 and had 3 points. And it'll be interesting to see how Melton fits back in. I wouldn't be adverse to taking a flyer on Melton in a 14-team league, while Bane is a deeper league guy, like a 20-team, 18-team league player at this point. The Nets were resting Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and then, of course, the news that Spencer Dinwiddie had tore his ACL. So we had different starters. Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, the artist formerly known as Taurean Prince, and DeAndre Jordan. Now, Prince was terrible because he's not good. 9 points in 19 minutes. Screw that bloke. 40 minutes for Luwawu-Cabarrot. 21 and 6, 3 threes, 2 steals, and a block. But let me tell you this right now. That is great. But Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are coming back to take 70 minutes a game. We got 27 minutes of Chris Chiozza. Like, those minutes won't exist. But nobody else played. Bruce Brown, the Shark, didn't play. Tyler Johnson didn't play. Shamet played only 24 minutes in an overtime game. So Luwawu-Cabarrot is going to... He might start. I think he probably will start in the Spencer Dinwiddie role. But ask yourself this. When Dinwiddie was starting, did you want him in a 12-team league for his level of production? And the answer to that question is no. You didn't. He wasn't a must-roster player. Now, Luwawu-Cabarrot is a significantly worse player than Spencer Dinwiddie. So do you want him in a 12-team league? And you can say, yeah, but when KD and Kyrie rest, he's going to be great. He is, but you don't want to waste that roster spot on one bloke for one game every week or once every 2 weeks. It's a waste of time. In a 14-team league, sure, that's really strong stuff from Luwawu-Cabarrot, but I just don't think we want to look at him as a 12-teamer. And even Karis LeVert, I'd sell the shit out of him after this game. 28, 4 and 11, 5 steals. He had a 37 usage. He was inefficient. And people are going to say, well, Dinwiddie's out. He's going to do this every game. But that's not how it works. If he has to share the court more with KD and Kyrie, he's going to see usage drop off. At the moment, he's just been doing whatever the hell he wants when he's on the court without those blokes. And if he has to have an increased amount of time playing with them, he won't be as good. So he could be someone to target as a sell high guy at the moment. Now, I don't understand 30 minutes of DeAndre Jordan. It will never make sense. 4, 9, and 5 with 4 blocks. The rebounds are nice. The 4 blocks are good, but don't expect that. While Jarrett Allen had 15 boards in just 22 minutes. Just the refusal to play him when DeAndre Jordan's out there sucking is frustrating. Shamet, not even close to a 14-team league guy. Same with Prince and Jeff Green, just the 24 minutes in this situation. It doesn't give us a full indication of what's going on because of the KD and Kyrie rests. The next game is the Jazz and the Thunder. 110 Utah, 109 the Thunder. The Thunder lost, or they won the first game on a Gilgeous-Alexander buzzer beater, and they lost on a Gilgeous-Alexander buzzer beater attempt in this game. For the Jazz, Mike Conley almost a triple-double, 20 and 10 with 9 assists. And getting 9 assists as a point guard in Quinn Snyder's offense is a huge thing to do, and that was great from him. Maybe a bit of a sell high, I'm not sure. Rudy Gobert played 37 minutes, had 12 and 10 with 4 blocks, and Bojan Bogdanovic had started off slow, but had 23 with 5 triples. Good game from him. It was shithouse from Donovan Mitchell, though. 20 points in 35 minutes, but 35% shooting. Now, I've talked at length about how he's never been a top 40 player, and some people were drafting him in the top 20 or the top 25, and points are a rare category. But that was always the risk. You were expecting him to take this big step forward, and he hasn't. He's just stagnating. He'll be better than this, so maybe he is a bit of a buy low player. Also, Jordan Clarkson, available in way too many leagues. 16 points in 26 minutes. Getting that scoring is invaluable. He should be on rosters in 12-team formats. For the Thunder, Luguentz Dort.
Bort? Oh, come on, Bort? Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Are you talking to me?
No, my son is also named Bort.
Yes, Dort, 32 minutes, 26 points, 5 threes and 2 steals. But let's look at the key factors here. 71% shooting on threes, 82% from the field. There is no chance those numbers are sticking. He might drop 40 percentage points in both of those categories. But he's aggressive. He's getting the ball. He's getting the minutes. He's going to get steals. He is a 12-team ad, but this is absolutely at the high end. Gilgeous-Alexander, good to see the assists there, 7 of them with 23 points and a triple-1, while Al Horford looked great, 11, 5, and 4, as did George Hill, 14, 5, and 4. Now, Hill at some point is going to be expendable, but for now, he's a 12-team league guy. Not the greatest night from Baisley, 9 and 11 in 33 minutes, but do not drop him. And then the bench, Alexei Pokusevski, scoreless in 14 minutes. He's not worth a 14-team hold, or maybe even a 16-teamer at this point. Feels like he has a little bit of time to go. Built Bar is back. New flavors, 6 of them. 12 originals, 6 new guys, caramel brownie, cookies and cream, cherry barcia, lemon almond cheesecake, carrot cake and apple almond crisp. They are the best tasting protein bars that you can find anywhere. They taste just like a candy bar, but they are good if you are looking to maintain your weight or even lose a few pounds by getting this high protein, high fiber, low sugar, and low calorie bar. Cherry Barcia, 17 grams of protein, 130 calories. The big triangle here, he recommends Built Bar. Get them into you. They taste like a chocolate bar. They don't taste like crap that you scrape off the bottom of your shoe like so many other protein bars do. Go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get 20% off your next order. The promo code is LOCKEDON for 20% off at BuiltBar.com. Tuesdays on Locked On NBA is East meets West. Wes Goldberg, Warriors beat writer for the Mercury News and the host of Locked On Warriors, and David Ramil, the host of Locked On Heat, tackle the biggest NBA stories of the day, coast to coast. Subscribe to the Locked On NBA podcast wherever you get podcasts. On to the next game now. We had the Denver Nuggets and the Houston Rockets. The Nuggets get their first win of the season, 124-111. For Houston, there was no John Wall, Ben McLemore, DeMarcus Cousins, Mason Jones, Kenyon Martin, Eric Gordon. They're all still out. Jim Harden remains great. 34, 6 and 8, 63% shooting, 9 of 9 from the line. Yeah, he's been awesome. While the Crucifix Christian Wood was on fire early, it did cool off. But 23 and 3 with 4 triples, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. He looks awesome. He's the 9th ranked player so far this season. PJ Tucker, nice 3 threes, nice 2 steals, but he's not really a fantasy option. While David Nwaba and Sterling Brown stepped up. 14 for Nwaba in 32 minutes. 12 for Brown in 31 minutes. I thought Jayshawn Tate looked all right at there. 5 points in 25 minutes for him. And Dan House had 3 points with 6 assists in 29 minutes on 1 of 9 shooting. House, to me, is not really close to a 12-team league guy. He's more of a 14-team league player. These guys like Brown and Nwaba and even Tate, who are putting up numbers, it's all going to drop off when McLemore, Wall, Cousins, and Gordon all return to the rotation. How about Big Chungus, Nikola Jokic? Jokic had a 34-minute 19, 12, 18 triple-double with 3 steals, a block, and a triple on 73% shooting. He's awesome. The Blue Arrow, the headmaster Jamal Murray, he looked better. Now, he did have a head contusion that he had to go to the locker room, but he came back 21 and 5 with 4 threes, and the efficiency was back, although a weird 3 of 7 from the line. Millsap was pretty good, and Millsap's been strong to start this season. I think he's a short-term, streamy type of guy for 12s, while Gaz Harris, one of his better games. 14 points with 3 steals, but we can't trust that. It's getting hard to trust Michael Porter, to be honest. 24 minutes, 14 and 9 with 2 threes. Malone doesn't trust him. I'm still holding on to Porter. I'm not dropping him. And the minutes, I think, will improve at some point. But, it's a little frustrating. Monty Morris was great. 12, 4, and 5. He got some extra minutes with Murray in the locker room. But guys like Campazzo and even Isaiah Hartenstein, they're not really playing very much in that second unit. Dozier was out there, had a massive plus-minus, plus 24 for Dozier, but didn't do anything. And Will Barton had 11 points. And he is not a top 150 player so far. I'd still hold him in 12s, but it depends. If there's someone like Keldon Johnson out there, Kyle Anderson, I would happily move on from Barton personally. I just don't think he's ever getting back to that top 100 player that we saw from him a few years ago. I think he's a fair bit away from that in terms of how he is currently playing. All right, so the last game of the day, let's go on to that one now. The Lakers, they go down to the Blazers. It's 115-107 in the end. Portland wins it. Remember last game, Gary Trent Jr. played 6 minutes? Well, he played 24 here. And he had 28 points, 7 triples, 71% shooting. Maybe this is controversial, but the fact that the Blazers didn't have Carmelo Anthony was a significant benefit for them because it meant that they had to play their better players more minutes, like Trent. Now, Gary Trent is not going to be a 71% shooter. He's not going to score 28 points or 7 threes in a game nearly every game. But he's significantly better than Carmelo Anthony and should be playing more of those minutes over Melo. And he's obviously shits all over Anthony Simons as a player. Trent is not a 12-team league ad on the back of this. He's a streamer. He was a great streamer for today, and I talked about it on the pregame show of him being an excellent DFS option that no one was going to be interested in. But he's not this good, so don't look at him as a must-add player. Lillard had 31, 4, and 5. McCollum had 20 points, 11 assists, and 3 steals. Inefficient, but really good otherwise from CJ. Let's talk a bit about Jusuf Nurkic. Now, I did talk about him on the buy low show. He remains a buy low. Do not drop Jusuf Nurkic. I cannot stress this enough because people are asking, do not drop him. It was looking pretty dire early on, but in the end, he finishes with 26 minutes. He has 10 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 71% from the field. It's not ideal. We want him to play more. The bench unit was rolling. Cantor and Trent were really cracking, and they limited what Nurkic can do. Now, I don't like what Stotts is doing in terms of the playing time for Nurkic. I think it's going to ramp up, and in the end, he's probably 4 to 5 minutes away from where he needs to be. 26, we want him at 31. Not the greatest performance from Nurkic. The usage really, really low. I think that's something that can increase as well for Nurkic. And it's obviously a little bit concerning as to where he's sitting at this point in terms of his usage and the numbers, but a buy low guy for sure. I think Robert Covington's also a bit of a buy low, but not to the level where he was last year. Just 4 points in 38 minutes, but he was 2 of 9. That'll improve. He had 3 steals. He had a block. He had 6 rebounds. That's the backbone of a good line. Don't let him be on the waiver wire. Try a buy low on Covington. Derek Jones Jr. had 3 blocks. That's what he is. He gives you blocks, and that's it. And steals as well. 1 of 9 from the field. He's not a 12-team league guy, while Rocket Rodney Hood, just not the minutes there for Rocket at this point. It was a good game from Cantor, and that's also what impacted Nurkic. 12 and 14 for Cantor in those 22 minutes. I wouldn't be trusting Enes Kanter on a regular basis to do this. He's a deeper league sort of guy, maybe that 14-team league player. But it's been a really good start to the season for Enes. Now, for the Lakers, LeBron James was pretty good. LeBron James. 29, 9, and 6, 2 steals and a block. That's great. Dennis Schroeder, 36 minutes, 24, 4, and 4. That's really good from him too. But Anthony Davis, I reckon he's a bit of a buy low. He is struggling. He is not a top 30 player at the moment. 13 and 10, 5 assists, hasn't blocked a shot. He played 38 minutes. The shot is off. He's better than this. We all know that he's better than this, so we don't need to panic too much about it. It's not great. Obviously, we'd love him to be doing significantly better than the way he currently is performing, but that doesn't mean that we need to be panicking or giving up on Anthony Davis. Montrezl Harrell, remember how he was on opening night? He's not that good. 9 points in 27 minutes. Marc Gasol is playing better. Harrell is being limited. I hope you sold high after opening night because he's never going to have that much value again this season. I'm telling you now, this was my concern with Harrell. He got absolutely torched by this bench unit of the Blazers. Cantor and Trent killed him, and Kuzma was also a victim there. 6 points in 23 minutes. Harrell's not a drop, but in a 10-team league, I would be seriously considering it. Gasol's a deeper league guy, 4 and 7 for him in his 19 minutes, which is not a bad performance from Marc Gasol, but nothing too spectacular. But only 10 minutes for Horton Tucker. This is the problem when everyone's there, and there was no Alex Caruso in this game. But Horton Tucker, there's no way you want him in a 12. There's just no chance. He's a stream guy. He's a DFS guy. When one of the big names sits out, then we could look at him, and that's it. I reckon Dennis Schroeder's a bit of a sell high as well. He had a true shooting of 63%. He had 24, 4 and 4, really putting up some pretty solid numbers most of the time. But when he has a big game, I always try and sell based on the Laker name and based on his reputation that people seem to overrate him. That's the 5 games done. Now, what I'm going to try and do in most shows, I don't know if I'll always remember it, but I'm going to try to do it now, is look at our advanced player roster percentage and have a look that over the last 12 hours, who's been trending, who's been added the most, and have a talk about those guys. Naz Reid, he's up almost 9%. Over the last 12 hours, I think he's an ad in 12-team leagues. Lou Dort is up 8%. He's a 12-team league ad. George Hill is up 8%. He's a 12-team league ad. Kyle Anderson is up 5%. Yes, he is a 12-team league ad. And then the next 2 guys, Terrence Ross is 3% up. Yes, he's a 12-team league ad. And then Fanapants Kevin Huerter is 2.5% up. No, he is not. He's not a 12-teamer. He is a 14-teamer. Delon Wright at 2.5% up. He is a 12-team guy. And Enes Kanter at 2.5% up is probably a 14 to 16-team league guy. I don't know if that's helpful for you. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Tweet it at me. Drop it in the Discord, whatever. Whether you think that little, that sort of trending ads thing is good to look at every day. Let's flip it over now to look at some DFS action for Tuesday's games. All right, let's have a look at the value here on FanDuel for the 10-game slate on Tuesday. The first game is Boston and Indiana. Victor Oladipo is back. Of course, Kemba Walker is out for the Celtics. Now, we look at the odds for this presented by BetOnline. The Celtics are 1-point favorites after the Pacers beat them last time. In terms of value, Tony Warren Jr. at 51 looks really strong to me. And the Rock DJ, Robert Williams, at 4,300 also looks like a pretty good option. I think Tatum at 9.2 is too much. I think Jaylen Brown at 8,000 is better than Tatum at 9.2, but still not awesome. Marcus Smart at 59 is probably also just a little bit too high with how he's going. Sabonis at 8,900 has been great. I'm not sure he's great at 8,900, but he has been playing at a really high level. So I think you can consider him. Just that price tag is probably a little bit scary for Domantas Sabonis. The Warriors and the Pistons. Warriors are favored here by 3.5 points at the moment. The total is 222.5. Griffin and Rose will be back. Draymond Green is out for the Warriors. Blunty's at 5,200. Now, the worry with Wiseman is how much is he going to play? If the game gets close, they don't trust him, so I don't know the value there. Maybe he's a GPP guy. Well, Mason Plumlee, $6,000. He's been so good. He's a great low-end cash type of guy. Delon Wright's at 4,200. Has been beating that number pretty consistently, and I like the low price there for him. Derek Rose, no thanks. I like Kelly Oubre. No one's going to be on Kelly Oubre. He's at 5,600. Eventually, the shots are going to go in for Oobs. And when they do, he'll get 30 plus, and that'll make sense. Joshy Jackson's at 43. Love to see him do that with Griffin and Rose. Although he did it in the earlier game this season, the first game of the year for the Pistons. Probably more GPP than anything else. Blakey Griffin's at 6,900, which is good for how much he's been playing, but I'm not sure I want to invest in that. Or Andy Wiggins at 6,200, probably a GPP guy. Now, Jeremy Grant's down at 57. He's beaten that number the last 2 games pretty comfortably. So that's, I guess, that's interesting enough for me to take a squiz at. The Sixers and the Raptors, there's no spread at this point for this one. I guess they're waiting to see if Embiid is playing. I am certain that Embiid will play. Norman Powell is down at 3,800 because he's been terrible. Now, he won't continue to be this bad. I feel pretty confident about that, but I wouldn't be putting him in a cash lineup. While the Thick Hogsman, Tobias Harris.
I think I am a TH?
T to the H.
Yeah, TH for life.
Harris is actually averaging 42 the last three meetings against Toronto, and he's at 6,400. Played really well last game. I like him at that price as a cash option. Embiid's at 96. Now, Embiid's last three games against the Raptors have yielded him under 20 fantasy points. But Marc Gasol doesn't play for Toronto anymore, so I think this is a good opportunity for people who look into past averages against teams. They'll ignore Embiid and they'll ignore the factors around that, and he might be a little bit lower rostered than you'd expect. Anunoby's at 57. I'm not into that. 8,900 for Ben Simmons is all right, but not great. The wiki Chris Boucher is up to 5,900. Of course, last game he had 57 FanDuel points, which is awesome. But that $1,200 price rise puts an element of risk on him that I'm probably not willing to take. So I think we can do better than Chris Boucher at that elevated salary at this stage. The Bulls and the Wizards. Winless teams, terrible teams. The Wizards are 5.5-point favorites. Westbrook should return while Lauri Markkanen is questionable for the Bulls. The tank Tom Bryant's at 5,200. I actually love that. That's really good. Denny Avdia's at 42. That looks pretty good to me as well. And Big Wendell Carter at 51 looks like an awesome price. I also like Kobe White at 59. I like Zach LaVine at 7,500. There is value all over the shop here. Now, Russell Westbrook's the interesting one. He's up at 10.6. Which is expensive, but this is the Bulls, man. Who the hell is stopping Westbrook from getting 50 plus? So I like him as a cash option. Beal's at 9,600, who is putting up good numbers, but that's probably just a little bit too rich for me, while Markkanen at 65, dealing with a calf issue. I reckon we can find better ways of spending that money with 10 games on the slate. Next up, it is the Knicks. It's the Cavs. There's no Kevin Love. There's no Kevin Porter. For the Cavs, there's no Isaac Okoro. For the Knicks, there's no Emmanuel Quickley. There's no Obi Toppin. Alec Burks has cropped up as being questionable as well. So there's value here. And one of those value plays is Mitchie Robinson.
And Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
Robinson's minutes are up. He is averaging 25 already this season, and he's at 4,900. Look, there's pure upside in that for Robinson, I think. Alfred Payton at 48 looked great last game. Can he keep it up? Probably not. But at 4,800, I'm willing to take that risk. Chetty Osman's at 42. That is an absolute smash to me because he is going to start and he is putting up shots and not missing. And Larry Nance at 5,500 without Kevin Love looks to me to be a really, really good option here in this one. Rowan Barrett's at 62. Not massively keen on that, while the double royal, Julius Randle. 7,700 for him. Have to love that. He has been really good. The Padawan Colin Sexton's at 68. We can do better. And doing better is spending 9,400 on Andre Drummond because he is just, I won't say molesting people, but he is doing a lot of damage to people at the moment. 9,400. He is on fire. Darius Garland's at 7,000. I reckon that's probably a little bit too rich for me at this point. I know he's been good, but it's maybe a little bit too expensive for me for Garlo. Next up, it's the Bucks. It's the Heat. No Jim Butler. So Tyler Hero at 4,500.
Everyone has a hero. True. 0 people shouldn't have a hero. Yeah.
Someone told me I should stop playing that song because it's too cringy, and I should play Hero by Enrique Iglesias. Iglesias, yeah. The reason I play it is because it is cringy. If I have to be suffer through that bullshit, then you have to suffer through it as well. And by suffer through it, I mean my son introducing me to that song. So now everybody gets it. The point of it is cringy. Nobody thinks it's a good song. Anyway, with Butler out, Hero at 45 looks great. I also think Kendrick Nunn, shiploke extraordinaire at 3,700, is worth a look. I think they'll put him into the starting lineup, and I think they'll give him an opportunity to put up some numbers. I like Bam at 8,200. I like Yanni at 11,000 as well.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I think that's worth a look. I think Drew Holiday at 64 is more of a stream, while the Iron Shoulder Goran Dragic has been awesome, but he is at 6,900. It's probably a little bit too expensive for me to get Dragic in there when they are pretty carefully managing his minutes. The Thunder and the Magic. The Magic are 5-point favorites on the road. The total is 219 points here in this one. Al Horford, I think there's a risk that he sits, and if he does, then Isaiah Roby and Mike Muscala will become good options. If Horford plays at 5,400, I love it. I love Shea at 8,000. I love Markel Fultz at 6,200, and Darius Baisley at 63. Yeah, I'm not as keen on that. I think it's all right, but it's not the best play out there. Lou Dort at 5,100.
Bort? Oh, come on, Bort? Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Are you talking to me?
No, my son is also named Bort.
Dort has been awesome in the first 2 games. I'm not sure that after this he's going to be a great DFS play because his salary is going to rise, and it's at 5,100 here. I think there is still value in that because he's going to get minutes and he's going to get opportunities. And George Hill at 5,500 looks okay, but I wouldn't say it is one of the best plays out on the board. the Pelicans and the Suns. The Suns are 3-point favorites, and the total is a Richie Benno.
2 for 2.
Dario Saric is likely back for Phoenix. I love Eric Bledsoe here. Against his former team, not that that means shit, but he's at 4,800. The price has come way down. No one's going to be rostering him. That's a good salary. Booker at 75 looks good to me, while Josh the Hitman Hart's getting a lot of minutes, but it's not necessarily translating into good fantasy production. So I think we can find better options than him. Not many other great options here. Zion's up to 8,600. I think that's too expensive. I'm not going to fool all over myself to get Williamson in at that sort of salary. The next game we look at is the Clippers. It is the Timberwolves. There's no Towns and no Okogie for the Wolves. There's no Marcus Morris for the Clippers. And Kawhi is listed as questionable. It is the first of a back-to-back for the Clippers, so I don't expect Kawhi to play. Naz Reid's at 45. Love it. Anthony Edwards at 49. Also love it. The Beatle Paul George at 76. Love that as well. This should be a 40-pointer for George. Love it, love it, love it. Batum's at 48. I'll take Anthony Edwards at 49 over Batum pretty comfortably. While D'Angelo Russell at 73 can't get it going, and I'm not really wanting to spend that on him. Now, Jarrett Culver's an interesting GPP guy at 4,400. He likely replaces Josh Okogie in the starting lineup, while Leonard's at 9,900. I just don't think he's going to play. The last game of the day, the Nuggets and the Kings. The Nuggets are 2.5-point favorites. They are on a back-to-back. Jamal Murray did have a head issue, but returned to the game last time. So that's good to see him out there. Let's see if he does play in this back-to-back. Big Chungus Nikola Jokic is absolutely rolling at the moment. Bagley's at 51. I think that's a GPP play. Heald at 54 is a cash play. Rashawn Holmes at 47. Yeah, not that interested. Fox at 79's got some upside. Halliburton at 43. Yeah, not sure there's much upside there. While Barton at 5,800, I think is a GPP guy. There's not a huge amount of value spread into that last game of the day. All right, that will do it for all of the action across the NBA slate for Tuesday. Recapping all of Monday's games as well. Don't forget, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube. Guys, go to my YouTube channel tomorrow, pre-game show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll see me recapping all the news before the game starts. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.